We're only just past Halloween, and like the stores, I'm already talking about Christmas. But bear with me. If you're like me, Christmas is a great time to play some games with friends and family. A fun way to embrace this is to make some themed games. So that's what we're going to look at today. Last year, Nick and Louise had a fantastic game at Warhammer Plus. It was a kill team game with a few changes, and most importantly, it had this great looking board and scenery, with Space Wolves trying to stop the Red Gobbo from delivering his very special gifts for Sanguinala, bombs. His gifts were bombs. Now is the perfect time to start planning if you want to have a Christmas themed game. It doesn't take a lot of work, but thinking about it now rather than later will make a difference. Make sure you keep an eye out for the December edition of White Dwarf. This was last year's and it had some great themed options. First up, snow. If you've got the models with snow bases already, fantastic. If you don't, that's fine too. Unless you wanted to get deep into it, I wouldn't worry about converting anything. Getting a nice winter style board though definitely helps set the scene. Now Games Workshop have done a few snowboards. The one you can see here comes from the Warcry Mausoleum box, which came out near the start of Warcry. We also have the Blood Bowl Winter board, which again has been out of print for many years. More recently, we saw the Norse board, which has a frozen lake. If you have any of these, fantastic. If you don't, you could consider looking at one of the many third-party winter boards. Alternatively, consider using a white sheet. It really doesn't need to be fancy. Sometimes adding in a little snow scenic powder onto the table can work, but make sure you clean up later and then don't sneeze. Once you've worked out your approach for the board, the next thing to look at is terrain. Presents make a great option. You can do small ones like the Warhammer TV team did as objectives, something especially good if you're using treasure missions. These are just painted cubes, so there's a good chance something around the house will work, and plenty of the kits have crates which could fit the bill. Try stick to that Christmas palette, so red, green, gold, silver and white. You can also use non-miniature but still small presents to block terrain. You can always find a flavour reason for it, and as a bonus you can sneak some actual presents in for your opponent to keep. Keep an eye out for tree decorations, as often you can get some very cheap miniature presents that way. The other thing to look for are conifer trees. You'll often find these as decorative festive scenery. For our purposes, the conifer style trees are perfect, with or without decorations. As a bonus, they can be snuck into your normal terrain box after the holidays. If you can manage it, lights are a great way to make a board festive, especially if you're able to get colours everywhere. If you can find them, a great option is dollhouse Christmas decorations. The 1/48 scale is about right for GW games. There are lots of other holiday motifs you can feed into: stars, turkey, holly, cookies, whatever comes to mind. When it comes to miniatures, there are two ways to go. The first is to just focus on the enemies, letting your friend bring their own models. The other option is to build a full set so you have both sides. There are a few classics. Here we have Santa Claus, with the emphasis on the claws. You can go down the workshop route and even give Santa helpers, who may or may not have humanity's best interests at heart. Going with this, you also get to play with the idea of gifts, like the Warhammer crew did. True to the Santa team, elves are a fantastic option, making great enemies and heroes. Here we have the Corsair Voidsguard for Kill Team and the K-Knight Shadowstalkers for Warcry. Depending on whether they are naughty or nice, they could be defending the workshop or attacking it. In both games, there are rules for carrying treasure or relics, which are perfect with the present style objectives. And remember, the models don't have to be in on the joke in-game, so you can have your Eldari being super serious trying to reclaim treasured artifacts that just happen to be in colourful boxes with bows on them. Dwarfs also make a great option. I'm a big fan of the Caradron Overlords, but for this I think you will need a Warden King or maybe a Drekki Flint, someone with a big bushy white beard. Bonus points if you paint them up red. Orcs and Gobbos make great Grinches, and for some unknown reason, Squigs are remarkably festive. You already have that perfect red and green palette, and they work well for a fun comedy game. Depending on your traditions, mechanical toy soldiers or the Nutcracker might feature, in which case the Admech are great, especially if you already have them in the classic Mars Forge World colours. Here we have a pretty classic festive lineup for Blood Bowl: Norse, Dwarfs and Elves, all playing into that Winter Wonderland idea. There are a few special play cards and options you can add if you want to add to the team and the mayhem. For Necromunda, the annual event is called Fistmas. This is a fantastic opportunity to break out this new Goliath model, set up a Necromunda bar brawl, and stick little festive decorations everywhere in the Underhive. The Assassin and Aspire is also a cool option for it, especially for someone new. They can play a juiced up, overpowered Goliath looking to give a gift to a very naughty gang leader. In true Necromunda tradition, the actual story of Fistmas is a little bit more sinister, with it whispered that Dorn himself left the dreaded Fanta Claus in Necromunda, tasked to once a year deliver presents to the good gangers. Of course, to do this, it spends the year murdering traders to gather the materials for his mutant minions to make them. Yak Tribe still has a link to an old scenario where two gangs manage to find Fanta's workshop the night before Fistmas. They spend the scenario stealing as many presents as they can before Fanta murders them all. That could be money, festive crackers, a woolly jumper, or even a puppy. Aeronautica and Titanicus are a little trickier, as you don't get to see the people. Christmas missions with these will have some environmental effects. For Aeronautica, that would be bad weather, with snow causing night fighting below a random altitude. Delivering presents, whether they're naughty or nice ones, will probably be the best kind of mission for Aeronautica. If you're ambitious, you could try find an appropriately scaled sleigh and reindeer and turn it into an epic escort mission as Santa goes from house to house. Titans will enjoy the snow. The open-engine Warpack has a Arctic world as a guide. Titans there vent plasma on a 4+ rather than a 5+, but repairing critical damage is harder and needs a 6+ rather than a 5+, as the crews struggle in the cold. Like with Aeronautica, you're probably looking at a destroy or protect mission. But if you have the Warlord Titan with 1 or even better 2 Ariok claws, you could do something fun. With Warhammer Underworlds, you'll have to work a little harder to get the mood going. One of the great things about Underworld is how complete it is, but for today's goal that's a bit of a drawback. There isn't any winterboard, although in theory you could try make your own. The best bet would be to take 2 warbands you can Christmas theme and do a nice paint scheme and maybe a snow base. Another option is to sub in more festive miniatures, but use the game rules for an existing model. Each year GW does a Christmas miniature. Some of the recent ones have included the Red Gobbo, Grom Brindal, and Jakob Bugmanson. Any of these could happily take the spot of a warband or kill team member. This year we have a Goth Rocker, which is a really awesome miniature, but I'm not quite sure how I'd fit it into a Christmas themed game. The holidays are a great time to get some Warhammer in, and it's a wonderful opportunity to get someone who's curious into playing some games. Make it fun and light, and don't worry about balance too much. Let crazy things happen, and focus on the game being enjoyable for everyone involved. Thanks for making it all the way to the end. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. Each week I put up a new video talking about one of Games Workshop's specialist games. The goal is always to try and make the best possible 2-player experience. If this is something you'd find interesting, please subscribe to the channel and comment to let me know what you'd like to see in future.